world before the sign, the world into which Jesus was born, was restless and wounded. Long before his name echoed across continents, the children of Israel lived under a heavy shadow. Their land was occupied, their dignity crushed, and their faith burdened by fear. Roman rule pressed upon them with iron authority, extracting taxes, enforcing laws, and silencing resistance. Yet the deeper wound was not political, it was spiritual. Over time, religion had been hollowed out by those meant to guard it. Sacred teachings were bent for power. Law became a tool for control. Worship remained on the lips, but truths no longer lived in the heart. Among scholars, pride replaced humility. Among the people, rituals replaced sincerity. They spoke of God, yet forgot God. Still, within their scriptures survived a promise, a figure foretold, a savior they called the Messiah. They believed he would come to break chains, defeat armies, and restore a lost kingdom. They imagined banners, swords, and thrones. They waited for a conqueror. What they did not expect was a sign. Far from palaces and councils, in a place untouched by ambition, lived a young woman named Mary. She was known for silence more than speech, for devotion more than presence. She withdrew from the noise of the world, seeking only nearness to God. In her solitude, she prayed without spectacle and believed without demand. She did not seek greatness, yet greatness was written for her. One moment would change the course of history. In her seclusion, an unfamiliar presence stood before her. A man, yet not a man. A voice, yet unlike any voice she had heard. She stepped back, steady but trembling. Mary said, "I seek refuge in God from you, if you are mindful of him." The presence answered with calm certainty. Gabriel said, "I am only a messenger from your Lord, sent to grant you a pure son." The words struck her like thunder. A son, without a husband, without precedent. Mary replied, "How can I have a child when no man has touched me?" Gabriel said, "It will be so." God creates what he wills. When he decrees a matter, he only says to it, "Be," and it is. The moment passed, but its weight remained. Mary carried a burden no one could share. She withdrew farther, away from eyes and voices. When the time came, pain overtook her beneath a date palm in the wilderness. Alone, exhausted, and overwhelmed, despair escaped her lips. Mary whispered, "I wish I had died before this and been forgotten." Then mercy answered. A voice called out, gentle and firm, "Do not grieve. Your Lord has placed a stream beneath you. Shake the trunk of the palm, and fresh dates will fall upon you. Eat, drink, and be at peace." Returned with faith. At that moment, Jesus was born. No celebration marked his arrival. No witnesses stood beside his mother. Only silence, sand, and divine care. When Mary returned to her people carrying the child, the reaction was immediate and harsh. Accusations replaced greetings. Faces hardened. Voices rose. One said, "Mary, what is this you have brought?" Another cried, "Your family was never immoral." She did not answer. She could not. She pointed instead to the infant in her arms. Laughter erupted. Scorn followed. "How can a baby speak?" they said. Then the impossible happened. The child spoke with clarity beyond age or learning. "Or learn it," Jesus said. "I am the servant of God. He has given me revelation and made me a prophet. He has made me blessed wherever I may be and commanded me to prayer and charity as long as I live. Peace be upon me the day I was born, the day I die, and the day I am raised again." Silence swallowed the crowd. Doubt turned to shock. Mary's innocence stood defended by a miracle. From childhood, Jesus was unlike any other. He lived simply and spoke little, yet wisdom followed his words. By God's permission, signs appeared through him. From clay he formed the shape of a bird, breathed into it, and it became alive. Those who watched did not know whether to fear or believe. Knowledge flowed from him beyond his years. Teachers listened as students. Questions met answers no one expected, yet Jesus did not claim greatness for himself. He turned hearts away from wonder toward worship. As he grew, the purpose became clear. He was not sent to be admired, but to remind. He spoke to the people with gentleness and warning. He called them back to the one they had forgotten. Jesus said, "Worship God, my Lord and your Lord." Some hearts softened, others resisted. Those who held power felt exposed. Truth threatened their control. What began as quiet concern turned into open hostility. Whispers spread, plans formed. Fear grew among those who feared losing influence. The child once accused would soon be opposed. The sign had appeared, and the test had begun. As his message spread, crowds gathered not for spectacle alone, but for meaning. The sick approached with hope, the poor with trust, and the broken with tears. By God's permission, healing followed belief. Sight returned where darkness lived. Skin was restored where pain endured. Even death released its hold when God willed it. Each sign pointed away from the messenger and toward the sender. Jesus warned them not to confuse the gift with the giver. Still, the leaders watched with growing alarm. They questioned his authority, demanded proof, and tested his patience. When he answered with the truth, they hardened their stance. When he spoke of mercy, they accused him of rebellion. Roman officials began to listen to the whispers. Influence they feared could become uprising. In private rooms, agreements were discussed and lines were crossed. Jesus sensed the shift. He spoke to those closest to him with honesty. Jesus said, "The truth will divide hearts. Remain steadfast." Some pledged loyalty, others hesitated. The night air felt heavier than before, as if history itself paused to breathe. The promise of deliverance stood face to face with the fear of loss. Unknown to many, a moment approached that would confuse nations and reshape belief for generations. The world that had waited for a king now stood before a sign it did not know how to accept. In the streets, hope and suspicion walked side by side. Mothers whispered prayers, scholars whispered warnings, soldiers whispered reports. Every whisper moved the story closer to a turning point. Jesus continued to teach with calm resolve, neither rushing events nor fleeing them. He knew the mission demanded trust beyond outcomes. The night would soon test loyalties, intentions, and truth itself. Nothing outward marked the approaching hour, yet everything inward trembled. The city slept unaware, while decisions made in darkness prepared to surface. What was meant as guidance was about to become confusing for many. The sign had come, but acceptance would not be simple. As dawn approached, the question remained unanswered. Would truth be recognized, or would fear choose another path? The answer waited just beyond the horizon. History leaned forward, holding its breath, as unseen plans moved toward their moment. The turning point was near. Jesus stepped fully into his mission at a time when hearts were already divided. Some remembered the miracle of his birth and the words he spoke as an infant. Others chose to forget, disturbed by what they could not control. He did not arrive with force or command. He walked among the people as one of them, dressed simply, living lightly, owning little. Yet wherever he went, attention followed, not because he demanded it, but because something unseen moved with him. When he spoke, people felt addressed, not impressed. His words carried clarity, not charm. He did not flatter the crowds or soften the truth. He spoke of God as near, aware, and singular. He reminded them that worship was not meant to elevate leaders, but to humble souls. Jesus said, "Turn back to God with sincerity. He alone gives life and takes it away." Some listened with relief, as if a long-closed door had opened. Others listened with anger, as if something precious were being threatened. As his message spread, the sick began to seek him out, not because he promised healing, but because hope surrounded him. A blind man was brought forward by his family, unsure whether to believe yet desperate enough to try. Jesus placed his hands gently and prayed, not calling attention to himself. Then he said quietly, "By God's permission, see." The man opened his eyes. Gasps filled the air. The healed man fell to the ground, overwhelmed. Jesus did not linger on the moment. He told the man to thank God and go. Soon after, another was brought, afflicted with disease, cast out by society, untouched for years. Jesus did not recoil. He did not step back. He spoke again, "By God's permission, be healed." The signs continued, not as performances, but as responses. Each miracle carried the same message. This was not power owned, but power granted. Still, many could not separate the sign from the man. Some began to look at Jesus not as a messenger, but as the source itself. He warned them repeatedly. Jesus said, "Do not exaggerate in your belief. Worship God, not his servants." Yet the more extraordinary the signs became, the more confusion grew. One day he was brought to a grave. The family wept openly, hopeless and exhausted. Jesus stood quietly, then prayed. He called out, "By God's will," and the dead returned to life. Shock froze the crowd. Tears turned to cries. Some fell in prostration to God. Others stared at Jesus with fear. Whispers spread faster than truth. "Who is he?" some asked. Jesus answered only with humility. He said, "This is by the will of God. If he willed, he could take it away." But restraint did little to stop speculation. Religious leaders watched closely now, not as observers but as adversaries. The signs threatened their authority. People began to question old teachings, old hierarchies, old excuses. Control began to slip. Meetings were held in secret. Accusations were shaped carefully. "He misleads the people," one said. "He breaks the law," another claimed. They questioned him publicly, hoping to trap him with words. Jesus answered calmly, exposing the emptiness behind their challenges. He spoke of mercy over ritual, intention over appearance. Crowds began to side with him. That frightened those in power more than any miracle. Then came the request meant to end all doubt. A group approached him, not seeking guidance but proof. They said, "If you are truthful, ask your Lord to send down a table of food from heaven." The demand was heavy with arrogance. Jesus paused, saddened. He replied, "Fear God if you are believers," but they persisted. Jesus turned away from the crowd and prayed. What followed was mercy mixed with warning. The table descended by God's will, a sign unlike any before. Those present witnessed it with trembling hearts, yet the warning came with it. Disbelief after this would carry severe consequences. Some believed sincerely. Others believed only temporarily. The leaders hardened further. They knew now that silencing Jesus was no longer optional. The Roman authorities were drawn in with careful manipulation. He seeks to be king, they were told. He gathers followers, they were warned. Political fear joined religious jealousy. Meanwhile, Jesus continued to teach, aware that the path ahead narrowed with each step. He spoke to those closest to him with honesty. Jesus said, "The truth is not always welcomed. Some will stand firm, others will fall away." Loyalty was tested in small ways before larger trials arrived. Among his companions, doubt mixed with fear. The pressure became unbearable for some. In the streets, his name stirred both hope and resentment. Was not Abisticane? Children repeated his words. Parents argued over his meaning. Scholars debated his status. Soldiers listened for rumors. Night after night, plans were refined against him. Jesus did not flee. He did not gather weapons or urge revolt. He trusted God's decree completely. He withdrew at times for prayer, strengthening resolve through submission. He knew that no plot could succeed unless God allowed it, and no protection was greater than God's will, yet tension thickened with each passing day. Friends sensed it, enemies accelerated it. Betrayal moved closer, disguised as loyalty. One of those near him wrestled silently with fear and temptation. The atmosphere shifted. The signs had been shown. The message was delivered. Now the world would choose its response. Jesus continued to walk openly, though danger surrounded him. He did not alter the truth to ease resistance. He did not retreat into silence. The test was no longer about evidence. It was about hearts, and hearts were being exposed. As night fell over the city, decisions made in secret prepared to surface. What began as awe had become confrontation. What began as mercy now faced rejection. The story was moving toward a moment that would divide history itself. Unseen hands prepared to strike, believing they could end the message by removing the messenger. But above all plans stood a will beyond human reach. The question was no longer whether Jesus spoke the truth. The question was how far humanity would go to avoid it. The answer waited in the darkness, just ahead. The atmosphere surrounding Jesus changed from curiosity to calculation. What once felt like wonder now stirred fear among those who ruled through tradition and authority. The signs were no longer isolated moments, they had become undeniable patterns. Each healing, each word, each gathering of listeners weakened the hold of leaders who thrived on unquestioned control. They could tolerate questions, but not transformation. They could endure debate, but not obedience shifting away from them. Jesus had not challenged them with weapons or revolt. He challenged them with truth, and truth proved far more dangerous. He spoke openly in public spaces, not attacking individuals, but exposing systems built on hypocrisy. He reminded people that God measured hearts, not appearances. He warned that rituals without sincerity were empty, and authority without justice was corruption. The crowds listened, nodding slowly, some with relief, others with unease. For many, his words answered doubts they had buried for years. For the leaders, his words threatened everything they had built. They gathered privately, speaking in cautious tones. One said, "If we allow this to continue, people will no longer listen to us." Another replied, "The Romans are watching. If unrest grows, they will act." Fear disguised itself as concern for order. They began questioning Jesus publicly, attempting to trap him with contradictions. "By what authority do you speak?" they asked. Jesus answered calmly, "The authority is from God." His response left no room for manipulation. When they accused him of breaking sacred law, he replied that mercy fulfilled the law, not violated it. The people murmured in agreement. That frightened the leaders more than disagreement ever could. Meanwhile, Roman officials began receiving reports. Large gatherings, strong influence, a man speaking of God as king. In a land already restless, influence was enough to provoke suspicion. The religious leaders exploited this fear. They whispered accusations carefully, framing Jesus not as a teacher but as a threat. "He seeks power," they said. "He turns hearts away from Rome." The accusation was false but effective. Political concern joined religious jealousy, forming a dangerous alliance. Jesus sensed the tightening net. He spoke with those closest to him, warning them that truth often provoked resistance before acceptance. Jesus said, "Not all who hear will remain. Some will follow only while it is easy." His words unsettled them. Loyalty felt certain in daylight, less so in shadow. One among them grew distant, struggling internally. Fear of loss, temptation of gain, and pressure from outside voices weighed heavily on him. Jesus did not expose him publicly. He allowed choice to reveal itself. Despite growing danger, Jesus did not soften his message. He continued to call people back to God alone. He reminded them that signs were not meant to elevate the messenger, but to confirm the message. If you believe in God, he said, then trust him completely. Some believed sincerely, others hesitated, torn between conviction and consequence. The leaders escalated their efforts. They spread doubt among the people, questioning whether miracles truly came from God. They suggested deception, manipulation, and forbidden means. The crowd wavered. Confusion replaced certainty for many. A house divided cannot stand, he said. If these signs were false, they would collapse. His reasoning was clear, but clarity did not guarantee acceptance. Fear clouded judgment. The Romans increased surveillance. Soldiers appeared more frequently near gatherings. The presence of authority shifted the tone of public interaction. People became cautious. Whispers replaced open discussion. Jesus noticed fewer faces among the crowd, yet those who remained listened more intently. Quality replaced quantity. The pressure reached a breaking point when the leaders decided that removing Jesus was the only solution. They justified their plan as necessary for peace. Better one man removed than chaos for the nation, they reasoned. The decision was made quietly but firmly. A moment of vulnerability presented itself. Through subtle persuasion and promise, they found someone willing to guide them. Betrayal did not arrive loudly. It arrived quietly, cloaked in justification. As plans unfolded, Jesus withdrew more often for prayer. He strengthened himself through submission, not escape. He knew that no plan could succeed unless God allowed it. He did not fear death, but he grieved for those who chose blindness over truth. He spoke to his companions with calm resolve. Jesus said, "Remain steadfast. What is decreed will come to pass." The night grew heavier. Tension settled over the city like a held breath. Conversations carried double meanings. Smiles concealed intentions. The distance between truth and power narrowed to a single moment waiting to unfold. Jesus continued his mission openly, refusing secrecy. He knew that avoidance would only confirm suspicion. Instead, he trusted God completely. The leaders finalized their plan, believing they had control. The Romans agreed to intervene if necessary. Everything appeared aligned toward one outcome, yet none of them understood that control itself was an illusion. Above every scheme stood a will beyond reach. The moment they believed victory was certain was the moment they misjudged entirely. The stage was set for an event that would confuse enemies, test believers, and reshape belief across generations. Night approached, carrying with it decisions that could not be undone. Jesus moved calmly, aware that the path ahead led beyond human understanding. The truth had confronted power, and power had chosen resistance. What followed would not end the message, but transform its meaning forever. The final act of this confrontation was about to begin. The final hours unfolded quietly, without spectacle. Jesus remained calm, though the weight of what approached was clear to him. He gathered those closest to him, speaking with honesty rather than reassurance. He did not promise safety, nor did he predict outcomes in detail. Instead, he reminded them that trust in God was not measured by comfort, but by constancy. Jesus said, "What is written will unfold. Do not let fear decide your loyalty." Some lowered their eyes, struggling with uncertainty. Others nodded, resolved but shaken. Outside, arrangements were already in motion. Decisions made in secrecy now moved toward action. The betrayer had chosen his path. Guided by him, soldiers advanced under the cover of night, believing they were about to end a movement. When they arrived, confusion erupted. Orders were shouted. Torches lit faces. In that moment, the world expected resistance, chaos, or escape. Instead, something beyond expectation occurred. God intervened. The plan meant to silence Jesus failed at its core. He was not seized. He was not overpowered. He was not killed. God raised him to himself, alive, beyond their reach. Another was made to resemble him, and in the confusion of darkness and urgency, the soldiers took the wrong man. The crowd believed what they saw. The leaders accepted what suited them. Rome acted on the information given, and history began to fracture. What followed unfolded rapidly. The one taken was humiliated, beaten, and led through the streets. Mockery replaced certainty. Violence replaced reason. Those watching believed the story was ending, but the truth had already moved beyond them. Darkness spread across the land, and unease filled the air. Some sensed that something was wrong, that events did not align as they appeared. Others ignored the feeling, eager to believe the problem was solved. Those who had opposed Jesus felt relief mixed with lingering doubt. Those who had followed him felt shattered, confused, and afraid. They had seen him raised, not defeated. Yet they could not explain what had happened. In the days that followed, rumors replaced clarity. Stories shifted with every retelling. Some claimed victory, others claimed loss. Without Jesus present to clarify, interpretations multiplied. His followers struggled to understand. Did he escape? Was he taken by God? Was he gone forever? Confusion settled in, and into that confusion stepped voices with agendas. Over time, the message began to change. What had been a call to worship God alone slowly turned into arguments about the messenger himself. Some elevated him beyond his own words. Others reshaped his mission to fit existing beliefs. What was meant as guidance became division, yet the truth remained preserved beyond distortion. God had protected his messenger and ensured that deception would never fully erase reality. The test was never about lack of evidence. It was about willingness to submit to truth even when it challenged comfort and tradition. Jesus was not killed. He was not defeated. He was raised by God, and his mission was paused, not ended. The world moved on, unaware that the story was incomplete. Power believed it had won. Fear believed it had survived. But above all belief stood divine will. The absence of Jesus did not mark failure. It marked a delay. His return was written into the decree, just as his birth had been. He would return not as a misunderstood figure, but as a clarifier. Not as a symbol of division, but as a witness to truth. Until that time, humanity would wrestle with the consequences of choices made in his absence. Some would hold fast to monotheism. Others would drift into excess. The story would echo across centuries, shaping faiths, conflicts, and identities. And on a day known only to God, Jesus would return, not to be worshipped, but to restore clarity. The turning point that night changed history, not by ending a life, but by exposing hearts. The sign had been given, the truth had been spoken. What remained was accountability. The story did not end in darkness, it paused in waiting. Humanity was left with a question that would define generations. When truth stands before you, stripped of spectacle and power, will you recognize it?